The coven pin or Knapp joint is a joinery style that dates back to the 1870s, and while it was only used for about 30 years, it was a strong and capable joint and is found in antique furniture today. With the Knapp joint, furniture makers were finally able to manufacture drawer boxes using machines rather than hand-cutting dovetails. The machines to make these joints were big and heavy and a bit cumbersome, but they revolutionized production furniture making. Around 1900, the Knapp joint lost favor, but it's an elegant-looking joint and works exceptionally well with the half-blind dovetail jigs and fixtures on the PantoRouter. About 5 years ago, Matthias Vandal made Knapp joints on the PantoRouter using separate templates for the coves and pins, and while they worked well, we always like to have a single template to do both halves of a joint, so we asked him to do some engineering for us. Matthias always has great ideas and came up with a workable template design, but this type of joint really needs a vertical clamping jig, and at the time we didn't have a good solution. Over the past couple of years, we've changed the Knapp joint template design, and with our half-blind dovetail system, we created the perfect vertical clamping jig to use for this joint as well. If you don't already have half-blind dovetail set, you can get a Knapp joint complete set including this vertical clamping jig. Or if you have the half-blind, you can order only the additional components needed to cut the Knapp. There are a lot of similarities between the half-blind and the Knapp joints, and both are beautiful and a lot of fun to make. The first step in assembling your new Knapp joint system is to exchange the knob screws and add the 2 front fence stops to the table front extension piece. Next, you'll screw the spoil board to the front of the vertical clamping jig, and if your clamping jig doesn't have the pilot holes, you can use the spoil board as a template to drill them. Scribe or draw a center line on the end of the workpiece and center your workpiece on the table. This is a critical step for the Knapp joint, so be sure to flip your workpiece and double check that you're well centered. Select the number of templates needed by referring to the written Knapp joint instructions. Slide the templates and the template ends onto the template holder. The templates can be centered on the template holder using the center hole in the middle template or the half center hole on the edge of each template. Templates on the PantoRouter don't need to be ultra tight, just snug them up without applying too much force. Use the Knapp joint height setup block to set the height of the template holder. You can refer to the written instructions for details on the workpiece dimensions. Slide the Knapp joint half-blind dovetail vertical clamping jig onto the PantoRouter table, but wait to tighten the mounting hardware. Next, you'll place the workpiece on top of the front table edge extension and push the vertical clamping jig forward until the workpiece is pressed against the front fence stops. Clamp the workpiece in place with the edge opposite the operator tight against the edge stop. Now you can tighten the knob screws to secure the vertical clamping jig to the table. The front table edge extension with stops has done its job to align the workpiece, so now it can be removed from the front of the PantoRouter table. Install the 5/16 inch router bit with the collet adapter into the router. Install the provided 8mm guide bearing into the pantograph arm. And please note, this is not a standard size guide bearing. It does come with the Knapp Joint kits. Set the depth of cut to clear the workpiece and barely cut into the spoil board. We like to nibble away at the edges to prevent tear out and establish a shoulder. Then follow the bottom of the template, working your way in using light passes to the full depth of cut. With the profile complete, the next step is to plunge for the pin or dowel holes. Turn off the router, then reverse the guide bearing so the shaft is facing the template. Insert the 6mm shaft into the hole in the center of the dowel section of the template. Use a pecking motion to bore into the face of the workpiece about 1/4 inch, then pull back to clear the chips, and repeat this until the hole goes all the way through and into the spoil board. It's really helpful to mark the edge that's aligned with the fence for future reference. If you're cutting both ends of the workpiece, slide the front table edge extension back into the front table slot and tighten the knobs. Rotate the workpiece so the same face remains facing out. Clamp the workpiece in place and repeat the cutting process on all drawer sides. Once all of your drawer sides are cut, remove the vertical clamping jig from the table. Position the drawer front on the table with the outside face against the table, and you can use the swing stop for repeatable cuts. We now change from the 5/16 router bit to the 1/4 inch bit for the drawer fronts. Like all of our mortise and tenon templates, the Knapp Joint template is tapered, so we start with the guide bearing towards the back of the template, then we'll move it forward down the taper to dial in a perfect fit. To make the front slightly proud of the sides, we like to wrap a piece of painter's tape around the edge of a drawer side and then use that to set the depth of cut. Take a light cut at full depth to establish the shoulder, then back the router out a bit to a partial cut and follow the template for the profile. With the router backed out to about half depth, follow the top of the template with the guide bearing going between the cove and pin sections on the template. Repeat the cut, gradually moving the router in until you've reached full depth of cut. Trace around the dowel or pin portion of each template, taking your time to make smooth cuts and avoid bumping the workpiece with the bit to prevent gouges in your joint. Test the fit of the joint using one of the drawer sides while the front workpiece is still clamped to the table. If the joint's a little too tight, move the guide bearing slightly down the taper on the template. Take another light pass at full depth, remembering to trace both the coves and pins or dowels. Even pressure is the secret to a consistent cut. Once you're happy with the fit, go ahead and cut all of your drawer fronts. We'd love to see how you use the Knapp joint, so please send us photos, and we'd love to see process shots as well as the finished product. Have fun with this unique joinery template, and happy PantoRouting!